Now, Alphabet, which is Google's parent company, has lost close to $100 billion in market value after, well, this goof up we will talk about, of course. And, with Google losing close to, well, that may $100 billion, that's because of a mess up in their system. Now, when they released this to the public, even though technically we can't use it, only a select few can use it, the mistake was that they asked basically, what are some of the facts we can tell about the James Webb Telescope to a 9-year-old? And one of the answers given was in fact factually incorrect. It claimed that the James Webb Telescope was the first telescope to take pictures of a planet outside our solar system, which is completely false. And that's actually been also, NASA itself also went ahead and said that this is wrong because it was actually done by a European Space Observatory telescope, which was, well, way back in 2004, long before the James Webb Telescope. So this mess up has caused a huge market crash to happen for Alphabet, Google's parent company. I'm currently joined by Nandgopal Rajan, who is the editor of new media at the Indian Express, here to discuss all about, Google basically messing up a little bit. So thank you for coming on the show, sir. I firstly want to ask, how big a deal is this? Now, of course, many people can say that the sky is falling, Google has tarnished its image, but how bad is this mess actually for Google?
I guess the optics of it is not great, but it's not a big deal, especially when you're looking at conversational AI system, because usually, and we've seen this with a lot of the tests we have done before, that it can make a mistake. But the great thing about AI is that it usually does not repeat a mistake. At least it's going to improve itself. It's going to figure out maybe it's made a mistake. In fact, in some of the tests that we have done with ChatGPT earlier, it even acknowledged the mistake that, hey, last time when I was asked the same question, I gave a wrong answer, but this time I've corrected it. So, because it's constantly learning, it depends on where it sourced that specific information from. That might change next time.
I mean, you're completely right. I think that the reason why there's such a spotlight on it was because this was their release into the public, and the fact that they got a question wrong in its release, especially when ChatGPT has been gaining so much traction. And I've got to ask you about Google, because usually Google is extremely meticulous and careful when it comes to at least AI. We saw that with Lambda and stuff like that. So do you think they're getting desperate? Do you think that they see ChatGPT catching all the headlines and therefore they were kind of rushed into this announcement?
Yeah, so they have been desperate for a bit, and suddenly, you get to know. So in fact, the Microsoft Bing event it wasn't a big surprise. So they knew about it maybe from a couple of days. So they, of course, Google was also preparing to do something. I think they tried to be ahead of Microsoft by, announcing, making the announcement. And that is where they maybe got it wrong. They didn't go through the regular checks and balances they would with all their social media outreach, with an event like this. So that, yes, a little bit of desperation is there, because we could be looking at what is an existential crisis for Google.
I mean, I'm so glad you said that. In fact, you've teed up my next question for you, because everyone talks about how this might be the death of the search engine. Of course, that might be a huge exaggeration. We don't know how many years. I mean, it's going to take a lot of years for that to happen. But do you think Google is genuinely facing some existential threat where it won't be such that we're going to have to search our queries to Google because they can just be answered by a bot?
See, so two things here. One is the core design of search, right? We are all used to seeing our queries being answered in the list format. That is going to change, because you're going to also see a summary, which is basically what most of us have been searching for. A lot of us don't need extra data on what we are asking. We just need to know, hey, definition of a word, or how to cook something, or how to do something. If that comes to you in a very concise paragraph, you are happy with it. You're not going to click anything after that, right? Google doesn't serve ads like so much on the search page itself. Its business is when people click and go somewhere and see the ads they are serving. So there are a lot of issues there. The other is how, your entire concept of Google being a destination for search might change. We don't know about this, but I have a hunch that, let us say I'm on Microsoft Word. I want to write about something, and I'm going to maybe get that one paragraph I want to write within my Word itself, if ChatGPT can be integrated by Microsoft and others into a lot of products. Now you're already seeing what Google and Microsoft want to achieve. That use case already live with a couple of search engines. There is you.com. There is Neva, which is actually created by a former Google executive. These two search engines are already giving you, conversational AI-driven answers along with their search. It is not taken over your primary listing. It is coming on the side of the listing. But, if in some time they realize that the conversational AI is giving much more relevant answers and that is more interesting for users, that will take over.
I think you're right, sir. But I mean, the problem here is that, everyone uses Google, not Bing. In fact, in popular culture, popular media, Bing is kind of always dogged on as, something that is always your second choice. In fact, it's your third choice out of two search engines is the classic joke with Bing. But do you think that with ChatGPT, Bing can actually, make a comeback, can actually compete with Google, can remove Google from its throne? Do you think it's possible?
So that depends to be seen, because see, again, it's a David versus Goliath kind of game, especially in a market like India. Nobody uses Bing in India, right? Unless you have, Microsoft as your, operating system, and it's going to open up when you're opening Edge every time.
Yeah.
So, but, if the product becomes very compelling, that can happen. See, the way to look at it is that Microsoft right now with ChatGPT and OpenAI has an advantage in the conversational AI part of it, but it has a disadvantage when it comes to the search part of it. Google has an advantage in the search part, has a disadvantage in the conversational AI part. And it is sad because a lot of this technology has actually come from Google's tables, right? And Google has been at the cutting edge of technology, but not really rolled it onto its products. Because that is something, because you are sitting in a very good monopolistic position. Why would you want to change your product? But now they suddenly feel the pressure.
No, agreed. And, I just to take it a little bit further than this, because we're only talking about search and Google and stuff, but let's talk about conversational AI in general. There have been a whole host of, worries about plagiarism, about, whether, with AI art, that's an entirely different thing, but it's to do with like plagiarism and students using it and whether it will change the impact of learning. Where do you stand on all of this in terms of, do you think it's moving too fast? Do you think we need to first have safeguards so that we understand what is the difference between AI text versus something written by a human?
Till maybe a couple of months back, I could clearly discern that something is an automated thing, right? Like I could make out that this has been translated by a computer or written by a computer, because this is not really new. It's just gotten better now with OpenAI and ChatGPT 3. But now that is not that easy. And the kind of permutation combination, so you can basically ask ChatGPT or a lot of the other programs out there, like, copy.ai and stuff like that. You can ask them to give you a specific article or a specific topic with specific subheads of a certain length. So it gets very, very good now, right? But again, you need to see over a period of time how humans react to it. A lot of these products so far have been very good with, fooling maybe a Google search, where machine is reading the content. When humans actually react the content, and see, there is, as of now, I think the biggest disadvantage that of AI-driven content is that there is a distinct lack of emotion, right? That is still there, and that is not something we have solved for from the tech part. That will maybe come with years of learning, and maybe that lack of emotion will be the disadvantage or will be the discerning factor. But frankly, a lot of people don't even understand that kind of a lack of emotion in a certain written text. So for a lot of people, this is not going to be as easy. See, there are people out there who really can't discern between an ad and a news piece, right? Yeah. So, you might have that kind of a problem with AI-driven content and human-driven content. And maybe human-driven content becomes the differentiator for a lot of organizations.
No, that's a fair point. Thank you so much for joining us, sir. Your insights were very great. Thank you.